Alright, so this video is a long time coming. I had this one requested of me quite a while ago. And frankly, the only reason it hasn't come out yet is because I kept putting it off. And then I'd get busy, and then I'd put it off some more, and I'd get busy again. I'm pretty bad about procrastinating. But considering that right now I don't have weekly Owl House episodes to review, and I don't have weekly episodes of anything to review, really. And considering that I've been planning to ask for requests again relatively soon anyway, I figured before I did that, you know, since I've got the time, I should probably get some old requests out of the way first. So we're starting with this one, and I'm super excited about it. So I actually watched this show, The Secret Saturdays, back when it was first airing, and I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't catch every episode. I'm actually fairly certain I didn't even catch these first couple of episodes, at least not originally. I might have seen them in repeats later, because some moments did feel familiar, but I did watch this show, and I liked it. And I was bummed when it got prematurely canceled. The premise of the show is that this family that we follow, the Saturdays, are secret scientists who specialize in cryptozoology, which, if I recall, is actually like a field of study in this world. Like, I think, like, at least one of the two has, like, a degree in it, which is just goofy enough to be awesome. And they, along with some other secret scientists, we meet a couple of them in these first couple of episodes. I don't know if they're the only ones, but they're the ones I know about so far, at least. Try to uncover the secrets of and come to understand crazy pseudo-scientifical stuff before the bad guys can, so that the good guys know how to counter it once they come upon it themselves, those bad guys. One of whom is Vivi Argost, the main antagonist of this show, who is introduced to us very spectacularly in these first couple of episodes. The premiere of this show is in 2 parts. The Curse Stone, parts 1 and 2. Those are the episodes that I watched for this video specifically. And they were really stinking good. The show itself has the same kind of vibe as like one of those older, like, you'd see them in like they're from like the 60s and stuff. Like Johnny Quest and stuff, right? Shows with that cheesy globetrotter vibe where you've got a mixed cast of adults and kids, and the kids probably shouldn't be there because the situations are kind of dangerous, but they are anyway for the same reason that Batman has a kid sidekick, right? Because it's fun for kids to watch people like them engage in this kind of stuff. Like, the show even kind of emulates the design aesthetic of old shows like that, with relatively flat-looking characters with thick outlines on comparably more detailed backgrounds. And yet, this show takes the vibe of shows like that, and it plays them a little more seriously. It gives them a little more nuance, and it turns their fantastical worlds into something a little more plausible. There's a similar kind of focus on adventure and the escapism of adventure as you might have seen in some of those old shows. Like, the main characters even have kind of a bantery relationship with some of their villains, but it's more nuanced than that. Even though this is a show that treats cryptids as if all of them are real, we're supposed to assume that all cryptids are real in this world. And even though the characters have, like, various superpowers in some instances, as well as wield magical artifacts and stuff in battle, it feels pretty grounded. The main protagonist, the kid character, Zach Saturday, has the ability to influence and in some cases even control cryptids inexplicably. And he wants to do what his parents do. He loves this world. He's sort of their protege, so it makes sense they would bring him along on at least the less dangerous stuff to hone his powers as well as help them do what they do, that being cataloging and researching these various creatures. But at the same time, he wants more. He wants to do more. He actually watches the villain's show where the villain talks about various cryptids and metaphysical and pseudoscientifical things. I guess they're not really pseudoscientific in this world, are they? Paranormal, I guess, is probably the better word for them. So he has an understanding of the villain, which could lead to some really interesting interactions with him in the future. I'll have to keep an eye out for that when I rewatch this entire show on my own time, because I'm definitely going to do that. You could even say he's a fan of this guy, so even as it's revealed that this guy has attacked all of their friends and even invaded their home, he sent forces to invade their home searching for a stone that the Saturdays and their allies took from him 11 years ago. A stone which has carved into it the map to a creature called Kerr, who is kind of treated like a god figure, but also kind of like a cryptid too. Like, it's assumed that he's basically just a really powerful cryptid, and who has the power to control other cryptids. It's said that whoever finds him will gain this power. It's said that whoever finds him will gain this power and be strong enough to achieve whatever they want. And yet, in spite of all of this, in spite of knowing all of this, Zach still kind of admires the guy, which is a very interesting dynamic. Even if they don't do anything with it over the course of the rest of the show, it's interesting just in the context of this one episode. When I say that this show grounds itself and takes these concepts more seriously than the shows that it seems to be based on, I mean that. We also learn in this one that in order to reclaim the stone from Argost in the first place, to prevent him from deciphering it and gaining that power, 50 secret scientists went to his home base, Weird World, and only 7 of them came back. Because of this, they realized that the stone was just too dangerous, and rather than try to find Kerr themselves, they split the stone up, entrusting it to 3 different research groups. I don't know why they didn't just destroy it. They were able to cut it up with a laser, I imagine, just so they could do so precisely enough that they didn't damage the inscriptions. But if their decision was that Kerr couldn't be found, that he was too dangerous to be found, why not just destroy it? Like, that's literally the only plot hole in this entire episode. Otherwise, pretty much all the actions of the heroes and the villains make sense. Argost launched his attacks on all 3 of these secret scientist factions so that he could try to claim all 3 parts of the stone at the same time, without any of them getting wind of it ahead of time so that they could stop him. He only has to take things further and keep searching, because it turns out the Saturdays hid their stone somewhere else, at the habitat of a particularly dangerous cryptid that even Argost wouldn't have the resources to take on directly, since he's really most dangerous at his home base with the home field advantage. So realizing that he has to find the last stone, Argost enacts a plan, a rather smart one. He implants this parasite thing onto one of the other secret scientists that lets him see through this other guy's eyes, observing his conversation with the Saturdays, where they reveal roughly where they hid the stone, and now he can go searching for it himself there. It's even revealed that he's apparently been researching how to control and enhance cryptids himself in limited ways, seeming to have a particular affinity for insect-like cryptids. And so even though the Saturdays are the foremost experts on these kinds of creatures, he's able to catch them off guard. They realize that now, eventually, he will find the stone. He'll find a way to get to it. They have to go get it first and move it, but even in the end, he ends up following them to it and uses them in that way to finally get his hands on it. And while he does originally try to dispose of the family using some James Bond-esque plot, he sticks around to make sure it goes off without a hitch. And when it doesn't, he and his bodyguard engage the family directly. He's not foolish about it. And it's only because the stone falls in the mud and leaves an imprint of its symbols that they're able to start deciphering them themselves and are able to kind of follow after him, or at least that's the impression, that they're going to follow after him and try to head him off at the pass, so to speak, and keep him from uncovering Kerr's location that way instead. It's just really well done. Like, they have their 11-year-old son along with them for this, and he wants to get more involved, but they want to keep him safe, first and foremost. That's their main concern. But at the same time, the parents don't entirely see eye to eye on this. His mom wants to keep him safe, first and foremost, before anything else, but his dad realizes that his power to influence cryptids could be extremely useful, and if they're careful, maybe he could help. And Zach does prove that he's capable of going up against someone like Argost, at least to a limited degree, when he fights him directly at the end of the second episode. But you can see both of their points of view. Both of their points of view make sense, and honestly, Zach's desire to just rush in, to tackle things recklessly with barely a plan and hope that he can just work things out on the fly, comes off as stupid. Like, it works out for him here. And, you know, he has good instincts, and you could see him developing those instincts as he progresses and becoming someone who's just as good at this as his parents are, but it really doesn't feel like he's quite there yet. Like, nothing is really done with it here, aside from his father taking him aside at one point and explaining that he thinks that Zach's powers have come into the world specifically so that there might be a counter to Kerr if he awakens, and his father likewise supporting his desire to become more involved in limited ways as the episodes progress. But the foundations for really interesting character dynamics are all laid here, and they feel perfectly natural within the context of these episodes. And simply having these powers does explain why he would be involved in events, even though his parents are responsible enough that they understand that he shouldn't be. He might need to be, and it sucks that he might need to be, but he shouldn't be, and they're going to do everything they can to make sure he's okay throughout all of this. Meanwhile, Argost retreating once he starts to lose ground against them makes sense. Even though he is such a threat, he's really only a threat when he's holed up in his home base. He's most threatening there. Anyway, out in the field, he's still dangerous, but they can beat him. Everything has an explanation, and the show doesn't really spell any of them out for us. It just trusts that the audience is smart enough to understand them. What's probably most interesting about this show, though, is that the cryptids being a major part of it, the cryptids being like the main, I don't want to say combat method, but this show is very Pokemon-esque in that the creatures have a major focus, and both sides do utilize them to some degree or another to affect the battlefield when conflicts do arise. It opens the door for cryptid characters to be a main part of the story. For example, 2 members of the main cast starting out at the beginning of episode 1 are cryptids, or at least according to the show they are. One of them is a Fiskerton Phantom, a thing that I had never heard of prior to this show coming out, which is kind of like a big gangly, a Bigfoot kind of thing. His name is literally just Fiskerton, and he's sort of Zach's adopted brother. This other one, though, just seems like a perfectly normal doggo to me. He's a very good boy. Just look at the pupper, how cute. No, but seriously, he's a Komodo dragon, which, last time I checked, are not cryptids. They're just animals, which I'm pretty sure is just the show having a laugh. And by the end of episode 2, they've added another cast member, Zach's sort of adopted sister, Zon, a pterosaur, and possibly the last member of an otherwise extinct prehistoric species, who takes a liking to Zach and becomes sort of a doting big sister figure. And while, as far as I recall anyway, from later episodes, Fiskerton is the most characterized out of these characters because he's objectively the most intelligent, all 3 of them are treated like actual characters with actual agency who actually affect the story. This is a very good show. I remembered liking it a lot, but going back and revisiting it, I was surprised by just how much I enjoyed it. And even though it does sort of have a cult following, it is criminally underrated. I never see anybody talking about this show anymore. I am, in fact, considering going and reviewing this show episode by episode to try to get it some modern day hype. That's how good I think this is. That's how much fun I had revisiting this. So I'm not going to get into any more detail about it today, though I will say, with Kerr's whole thing seemingly being that it grants the person its power to control cryptids, or else it'll just control cryptids for whoever finds it. If I were theorizing about this show, if it were airing today, and I was theorizing about it, I would wonder if Zach was Kerr, right? I don't remember the show well enough to know if he's connected to Kerr in any way. but it seems like he might be just from this one episode. Well, this one 2-part premiere episode, which is super interesting to think about, right? Like, this show's got me thinking, which is very cool. I guess my question is then, would you like to see me review this show episode by episode? There's one full season and then one, I think it's like a 10-episode second season or something like that. So it's not like it would take me too super long. Let me know in the comment section down below. In fact, what do you guys think of the Secret Saturdays? Let's talk about this show in the comments, though please, no major spoilers, or at least hide them below the break, because again, I do plan on watching this show all the way through, even if just for my own personal enjoyment. I like it that much. But yeah, that's been my 2 cents on the Secret Saturdays. Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below, and while you're down there, you might as well like my video and share it with anyone else you think would enjoy my content. Subscribe if you haven't. You can also check out links to my various social medias, as well as the many ways you can help out the channel. Those will be in the video description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.